Alright guys, what's up? It's your boy Dr.SidewayZ. I'm back again. So I've been working a lot, so I hadn't had a chance to really get out and do a lot of videos, so I appreciate your patience. But basically what we're doing today is we're doing bushings in the Bobcat. So I got quite a few engines that I got to unload and rebuild here. And I was like, what better use to use a Bobcat? I'll just hook into them. But so I recently rebuilt the drive motors on the sides, and it's great. But something else that I've noticed here lately, as I'm moving and I start to slow down and start to accelerate quickly from kind of the coast, I start to notice like it's really strange. It feels like the motors are back bad, but they're not. So what I noticed in here, and I'll show you here real quick, is in here I got ever so slight play on this one, and I got play on this one here. So as you move this guy, more or less back here, I don't know if you can see back in there. Let's see. Alright, so there's going to be a block back there. You see back in the back? I'm going to move the control stalk and watch it. So it has slop there. You can see the right portion there, the beam that attaches to the left control stalk in the Bobcat. You can see I move it and it has free play there. And then also up here we have slop. Notice this cam, I'm not sure what you'd really call it, but I'm gonna call it the cam lobe for the beam here that connects to the control stalks up here. So if you look, if you move the control stalk ever so slightly, you got slop there. Notice the right moves and then the left slowly engages once you get up there. See that? Just play there. And then for the left control stalk, sorry, it's awkward doing this. Left control stalk. The entire bolt's moving inside of it before it even moves it. See that? See how much slop that is? So basically what it's doing is whenever I come to slow or come to turn, it gets into this strange thing where it wants to unload the drive motors and then load them right back up, so it really starts bouncing and jerking around. And honestly, I would venture to say that's probably how I blew out those Teflon backings on the backs of the drive motors. So you have the O-ring, and on the back side of that is a Teflon backer, which is supposed to keep the O-ring from it's supposed to keep it from being burned up on the face of the drive pump as it's turning. It's also supposed to keep it encased so it seals, but it doesn't take, more or less, it takes away the wear of the O-ring. Looks like we're gonna have to take this bar off. Zoom out a little bit. That's as far as we're gonna zoom. Have to take this bar off, back up in here, back there, right here, and then right there. And then up front, I don't know if you can see it, but we're gonna have to take here and here. So it's really easy. It's just taking everything loose. But we'll burn through that and we'll get that off, and hopefully I can come up with an easy way of pushing the bushings in. Alright, so you're probably wondering what this guy is here. So this is a backup light. So basically as these beams come back, they come in contact with these micro switches, and then they'll turn on, obviously, beepers or whatever. See right in there. So that bolt basically the bolt on the back side of that beam back there. It's so confined that I can't really get the camera back there to show you. So this bolt on the back side of this beam here, take that loose. Alright guys, we just got that bolt back there in the back loose. So now this bar should be able, yep, it comes out. I just gotta work it around all the wiring and everything. Alright, so the right one's out. Now we can take this left one out. So they thread into the beams and then the nut goes on the back side. So, yes, that's, I don't know why that is, but it is what it is. Pretty sure that's not supposed to do that, so that might be part of the issue. Obviously we're replacing the cams on it, top and bottom, but we're gonna move this thing forward. This thing basically free floats on this shaft for the I don't even know, the bracket or whatever you want to call it, this block thing here that I'm outlining in the video. So this top one mounts the top cam. Obviously it's kind of misleading because if you look at the bottom bolt down there, you would assume that it would control that bottom cam down there. Actually, the bolt for that bottom cam is below that bolt. So what that bolt does is that bolt basically clamps this entire square block on that shaft there. There it is. Half a turn. It should open us up to, you know, get it on here, and it did. And it looks like it's gonna be a back and forth between the top side and the bottom side. This guy has free play. Should be able to lift this guy up, and we should be able to do this little trick here where we slide this guy up and mount. Alright, so that guy. That guy just slid out of that guy, so it literally sits in there like that. Literally slide it back, and it comes out. There's notches in it. And once it gets to a certain point, it will pull out just like that. That is it, guys. Look at that. Get a little more loose. You should not be able to do. I mean, look at how bad that bushing is. It's pressing right through. So we're gonna get new bushings in these guys and then try to go from there. Let's go vapor home this guy. So, based, what would we say? Water-based sandblaster, if that makes sense. So, got that stuff going on. Makes real nice work of everything. And, alright guys, and this is essentially what we end up with afterwards. Really nice part. A little bit of grit in there. You push a bushing in. This looks like definitely was pushed from the other side. If you can see what I'm talking about, this protrudes something. If we're pushing this through and then coming out this side, you're gonna need the 26mm cycle, which goes on this side. All right, and you're gonna need your 15mm other socket that pushes this into the 26mm. So we're gonna do that real quick. Super easy. If I can stop hitting the table. There we go. Change it up a little bit. Make sure you can see what I'm working with. A little bit. It's getting late, guys. I'm just trying to knock stuff out, so open this guy up. I'm gonna put a receiver there. Get our socket in on this side. Oh man, just stop dropping stuff, that'd be great. Well, that's what I got going on here is a 26mm socket and 15mm socket. So, something to make a mental note of. You can press these things out in the vise. As you can tell, that bushing is shot. 26mm socket on the receiver, 15 on the whatever you're utilizing to push it. Let's see here, new bushing. Honestly, I'm gonna go with something a little bit larger to push that in. 19mm. Push it in. This is the rear, but it comes in from the back side now. So, see if we can get this thing squared up. Let's put a little PB blaster down in there. Give it a little something to slide on. You don't want to go too far and deadhead it, so you see you can push it till it gets smooth right there. Then you're going to need something to receive it. Probably would have been nice to have that going before. So you can need something to receive it. So it'll slide in there like that. It's kind of a juggling act to make sure that you got both equal and centered up in the vise. The next thing is going to be switching out these cams. Cams should be 14mm. They are. That's a flat spot there. My cam is no longer good. Good. Alright guys, new bushing, new cams. I'm gonna lube this guy up, nylon. You got a little stuff in there from doing the vapor hone, but we're gonna clean that out with some brake cleaner, get that real nice and free. But yeah, that's about ready to get thrown back on the machine, man. I'm gonna grab the other one and do the same thing. Alright guys, so this is the one that we've rebuilt. Got new cams in there. Clean that guy up. We pushed a new bushing in there. Everything cleaned up, vapor honed, ready to roll. Here's the old one. Alright, a old one. This is the front one. Bushing's destroyed. That guy barely turns. The cam lobes. It doesn't even have a lip on it, which is absolutely insane. So, set aside new cams, worn cams. So, I'll say that's ready to throw on the machine. Gotta get that one cleaned up. Alright guys, I don't know if you can see what I got going on, but I'm using a bolt
passes just through it. I'm using 2 thick washers, one roughly the diameter of my bushing, which was kind of hard to find, but I was able to find one in my random bolts. Another washer because the inside diameter of my big washer is too big, so this guy wants to pull through, so I'm using a little washer for that. I got an 1 1/16 inch socket, and then obviously I got more washers on the other side. Hopefully this works. I don't know if it will, but let's see if it does do anything. Hopefully it does. Okay, cool. So that works perfect, actually. Look at that, guys. And this was what I was worried about, actually. I was worried about not being able to get these out, but this is probably the easiest portion of it. Wow, that was far easier than what I was expecting. All right, so to show you, 1 1/16 socket, 1/2 inch. Literally some washers, and here, I'll just basically take this apart and show you what I had set up. So we got a nut, a little washer, bigger washer, bushing. Look at that. Look how bad that bushing was. And then 1 1/16, and this is what was on the other side. So bolt, little washer, big washer. See what I was talking about? There's slop in there, but this goes in here like this. This goes on here like this. And then I got big washer, little washer, and my nut. Main thing is centering that washer on the bushing. Look at that. Look at that. Man, that's easy. That is super easy. Except for now my bolt is now jammed on there. I think there may have been a burr. Let's see. So now I have a theory that I can just flip this around and should do the same thing but in the opposite direction. But I may actually go get a socket or something that sets on there better. But that bushing was shot too, so I'll be right back.
Alright guys, so I managed to forget to actually do a voiceover on this one here, so I just wanted to give you some insight as to what I'm doing here. Essentially, if you start this thing having your receiver, and by receiver I mean a socket that's larger than the bushing, you see my right hand, which would be my hand that's on the left in the actual image here, you would be putting a larger socket on that side to receive the bushing so that you're not deadheading the bushing against it. Unfortunately, if you do that, with it not being necessarily designed for pushing bushings in, you're going to have the bolt cant, and it's not going to be in line with the actual bore of the bracket here, so you'll end up trying to push the bushing in sideways. Obviously it's not going to be sideways, it'll be it's an exaggeration, but it's not going to start right. You're going to create a burr and you're going to have an issue pushing in. So what I did, I found some washers, and essentially I'm trying to deadhead the bushing here. By doing that, it's going to true up my bolt, having the nut here on the left side against quite a few washers there. It's going to center the bolt in the bore of that bracket, allow me to start the bushing and pushing it in. Now you're going to see me here deadhead, and what I have to do is break it loose, bite my nut off, and switch over to a socket. That way I can finish receiving the bushing, because it's gonna pass, farther through than just the bracket alone. So it'll have some of the bushing that's hanging out here on the left side. So you want something that's able to receive that while still allowing you to tighten the bolt and not deadhead that bushing, if that makes sense. If that doesn't make sense, just leave me a comment below. I'm not very good at explaining things. Hopefully that does make sense. If it doesn't, just drop me a comment below and I'll try to walk you through it to the best of my abilities. And then we can just go from there. And guys, I'm going to give you a little bit of insight here. You're going to see me multiple times so as the video knock something or bump something off screen. That's me jogging the joystick. Later in the video, I end up deciding to take a bungee cord, hooking on to the cab, and then hook into the joystick. And it just makes it 10 times easier to have this thing, so you're not having to reach up there and bump it ever so often, so that you can get back into your working position and be able to push these bushings in. So just utilize a bungee cord. It'll make your job 10 times easier. Alright guys, so what we're trying to do here now is we've already started these bushings in, so now we just need to finish continuing to push these things in into a home position, so that the little lip right here just in front of the socket here deadheads against the bracket in which we're pushing it into. So you're going to be utilizing a 1 inch and 1/16 inch half-inch socket here on the left side, and then I'm not necessarily sure, I think it's like a 19mm here on the right side. Just something that's roughly the same diameter as the face of the bushing, the metal sleeve, not the rubber portion, but the metal sleeve, as that's what you're going to be using to push this bushing in. You don't want to push on the rubber because you'll just literally rip the rubber out of the sleeve. So make sure that you push on the rubber, or not, make sure you push on the metal sleeve, not the rubber. Sorry, it's been a long day. Eventually you're going to end up deadheading this guy, and that's what you're looking to do. You're not looking to deadhead the bushing against the socket, therefore that's why we're using the 1 inch and 1/16 inch half-inch socket.
Alright guys, that's about it for that one. It's starting to get hard to work with. Alright. Well, it looks like that's about good. Alright, so Gotta finagle this thing in. Put some lubrication on all this stuff, all these pieces. Got white lithium grease. It's drizzling, so we kind of got to move quick. This bar comes in here, and alright guys, so once you get it lifted up, you're going to slide it into the bar before you go and press it onto the actual pump, I guess, or whatever the turquoise thing is here. So put it in the bar, and then you're going to slide it onto the shaft as a unit. Main thing you're looking to do right here is to knock these control levers in at the same time. If you go and you completely knock one in, you're going to break the nylon on the opposite side. So you need to take a little bit of care and patience while knocking these things back onto the shafts, as to walk both on at relatively the same time so that you don't damage the nylon, because the nylon is the only thing that's locking the two stalks together on this bar. So just keep that in mind while you're doing that. Alright guys, and it's time to play the juggling act as to melting all the linkage together to the control stalks. There's a couple things that you're going to be aware of. You got two brackets here, one for the left, one for the right. Also, you got a bracket that has the parking beeper and reverse lights, depending on which model you have. Basically, the two contact switches that you took off in the beginning. That bracket goes over these levers, and you can see this bolt here in the center of this gray shaft with the rusted head. That's bolting on a gate. We're gonna call it a gateway for a lack of better terms, but that comes in contact with the control switches for the backup beeper. So that's gonna end up going over that. So you're gonna need to go ahead and bolt this guy up first and foremost, and then depending on the order in which you took it off, and just make sure that you follow your bolt orientation so that you don't have bolt heads coming in contact with each other, especially their jam nuts, as a lot of this linkage is threaded. So you're gonna have a bolt thread into something, and then not only that, you're gonna have a jam nut on the back side of it. So just keep that in mind also. So quite a few things to just keep in mind while you do this juggling act of getting this linkage back in. Alright guys, so what I'm trying to do here, I'm tightening up the jam nut here. So essentially this is going to tighten the vertical tower looking bracket onto the shaft to allow it to not slide off of the shaft. There's a bolt. It is definitely a pain to get to. So just go at it from the top side. If you can't get a good purchase on it, go to the bottom side and see what you can do from there.
Alright guys, for the sake of time, I'm going to cut this a little bit short. Once you get the linkage and all attached, you're going to want to set the creep. This is how you set the creep. It's easy. You're going to have to get the Bobcat suspended. You're going to get it on 4 jack stands, 2 under each axle. And now what you're going to do, so those blocks, the square tower looking objects in which we had vapor honed and pushed new bushings in, so the cams ride on these blocks that bolt to this bar in which we had put in. How you set the creep is by adjusting that bar and where it interfaces into those cams that we had replaced. So you're going to break loose the bolts that attach those blocks to the bar, and you're going to slowly tap those towards the cam lobes on those towers in which we had vapor honed. And that's gonna basically push the actuator that's inside of the pump, slowing the pressure to the drive motors, and essentially that's what you're going to be doing to set your creep. It's quite easy. You just got to sit there and go back and forth and try to find a common ground between the left and the right side. You're coming to notice that the left side is ever so slightly creeping towards the rear. If you are unable to get this thing to completely not creep in any direction, creeping towards the rear is ideal versus creeping forwards. Once you get as good as you can, and which I have, realistically, if it's creeping less or equal to what I'm doing right now, don't worry about it. It's not going to move once you get the thing setting upon its own weight. Alright guys, I think I know why we couldn't get the creep set perfectly, even though the bushings, the cams, and the blocks are essentially new. Hydraulic mode drive units are good. I do want to point something out to you real quick. Notice that little slop here. So the linkage is not moving. You can see down there. So comes out here, these bushings I oiled or lubricated. I don't know if you can notice that, but that's where our slop's coming. So this bushing's worn out too. Let me put this up against something so I can hold it still. See that play there? That's our issue. So let me get those ordered and I'll slap them in. There's 2 bolts. There's one on this other side, except for its access from inside. See, that's on the inside there. So to access that from over here. But guys, I hope that helps you out a little bit. I know a couple of you guys were asking about how to set the creep, and hopefully that helps you out. If you can't get it perfect, you're probably going to be fine once you're sitting on the ground and it has weight on the unit. Also check those bushings on the side for the actual bar that runs across that all the linkage attaches to. Make sure that's good. And aside from that, if you have any questions, leave me a comment below. If you hadn't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. We're killing it on subscriptions. We're at like 326 or something as of today, so that's awesome. We're up like 100 in a month, so thank you guys. And if you have any other questions or if you want to see something else, leave me a comment below, and y'all have a great weekend. Bye-bye.